let's see, scanning the headlines. Oh, this one jumps out. Literally. Not because it's complex, but because it's simple in the most disturbing way. The current president is suing the tax agency, IRS, that is the tax service of the country he is currently running. Okay, how does that work? But if pause on that a minute, because the problem there isn't legal technicalities, it's incentives. The claim as reported is enormous, $10 billion. That's the number alone is meant to dominate attention. But the number isn't the story. It's kind of a distraction. The structure is when a powerful political figure brings a lawsuit against a federal agency, the question isn't whether lawsuits are allowed. The question is who controls the lawyers on both sides of the table. Here's where conflict of interest enters. The IRS doesn't operate in a vacuum. It is funded by taxpayers. Its leadership is shaped by political appointment. So when allies signal resistance publicly, but quietly negotiate smaller outcomes, the appearance of accountability makes deeper problems. If the dispute resolves for even a fraction of the original demand, where does that money come from? Well, let's say the counteroffer is dramatically low, $100 million. I don't know, dramatically speaking, 10 billion or 100 million. I don't know, I think that, anyway, instead of 10 billion. It sounds like restraint. It sounds reasonable, but it reframes the narrative. Now the question isn't, is this justified? It becomes, is this affordable? And affordability shifts the burden away from the claimant and onto the public. The smaller number doesn't fix the conflict, it normalizes it. And that is not a good thing. This isn't about whether one man wins or loses. It's about precedent. If a former president or president can sue a federal agency that they are currently in charge of, negotiate down and potentially receive taxpayer-funded compensation, the door is open, not just for this case, but for future ones. Power learns from power. Systems remember what they allow. Supporters may argue this is just law. Critics argue it's legalizing extortion. I'm on the legalizing extortion part. Both sides have something critical. Trust. Institutions only function when the public believes rules apply evenly. When lawsuits start to look like internal transfers rather than adversarial checks, legitimacy erodes, and once that's gone, it is very hard to rebuild. So here's the real question to leave with. If governments can be sued by the ones that run them and set the policies, and are paid by those, and those with no say, what exactly are taxpayers consenting to? The answer doesn't end with this headline. It sets the terms for the next one. And so help me, this is one of those super frivolous lawsuits of a man that throws temper tantrums. The Supreme Court just said that he couldn't have 90% of his tariffs, and he said that he was going to say screw it, that he was going to use the same law that they told him he couldn't use. Anyway, so responsibility and leadership, accountability are areas that I firmly believe and will honestly 100% fight for. And with that, I will see you next time, and it's Scott for 2028.